Hey everyone, this is Jonathan here with the EthStaker team, and welcome to Community Call 48. We're excited to have David from NodeBridge Africa with us. And before I get started, just want to introduce um, EthStaker and what we do, and remind everyone of how we're going about our mission of educating the community, um, helping support stakers, independent node operators, and solo stakers across the Ethereum ecosystem, and always looking for new ways to do that and support people in this space. Um, Always find us on our EthStaker Reddit, EthStaker Discord, of course, EthStaker Twitter, and join these community calls to keep learning and participating in the community. Um, so if there's, let's see, anything else in terms of housekeeping before we get started, if you want to be involved in these calls, please come into the Discord, help with agendas, um, pick up a shovel and just help with whatever you want in the community. There's always something to do. And so that's pretty simple way to get involved and interact with us. And also during this call, even you can send messages in the chat if you have questions for David or anyone of us on the crew here, and we can help relay them into the meeting and discuss it. So yeah, with that said, I'll introduce David here, who we have on the call from NodeBridge Africa, and really excited to hear from David about what he has been working on with his community. And enough talking from me. I'll let you take it from here, David, and introduce yourself, and we can learn more about everything you're doing.
Hi. It's actually nice being here. So I'm David from Nigeria, Africa. So I run NodeBridge Africa. NodeBridge Africa is an initiative dedicated to promoting and expanding home and independent Ethereum staking in Africa. It actually focuses on educating, supporting, and empowering Africans to run their own Ethereum home node, thereby contributing to the decentralization of the Ethereum network and fostering local innovations in the blockchain technology. We've been doing this through several means. First, through education, which is something also we spotted out as one challenge. So this is one of the things we do also at NodeBridge. At the same time, also research. Yeah. So this is me, and this is what we do at NodeBridge. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess starting with maybe one of the things you've been doing is like been working in partnership with the Next Billion Fellowship with the Ethereum Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you've been involved in that program and what that's been about?
Yeah, awesome. So the Ethereum Foundation Next Billion Fellowship, it's actually a program. The summary of the program is more of how it's a 6-month program, and one of the things it helps you to do, the focuses on how Ethereum actually affects your society, how Ethereum actually impacts your environment, right? What's the story behind Ethereum in your locality? And obviously for NodeBridge, which is also one project as a fellow, which I also have as part of the Ethereum Next Billion Fellows, right? It's for NodeBridge is that project that actually shows how we could Africans could actually be participants of the Ethereum network by also running nodes at the same time, really making Ethereum truly decentralized from a geographical perspective. So it's what's also how this affiliation of the program is. So the fellowship actually helped to give more life to what we do at NodeBridge.
I have a question about NodeBridge Africa in particular. How many people are you working with day to day, or like in your community that are close to you, or like very hands-on with you helping people around?
Okay, yeah. So very funny part was I'm just the only guy. So, but the other good part was I have been able to will I say educate two persons right now who are now like good also to so right now I could say I have like two persons day-to-day activities we work together on the community itself. So yeah, I would just say three of us right now. Yeah.
So, like, I think one of the interesting things about this subject is just like one of the topics that's really important to the EthStaker community is decentralization and representation across all geographies in the world. And so, I guess, how do you think about the importance of these having nodes in Africa, and um, like how can Ethereum survive without having nodes in Africa? I mean, like, how important is that to be getting that representation, and like what is the current representation, and where do you want to see it go? Like how does that play into your
Yeah.
thinking and managing the community like that?
Yeah. For me, I think that's someone who wants to see Ethereum survive, not just survive, um, becoming the real world computer, right? Just as if you ask someone, oh, what does Ethereum means to you? They say Ethereum is the world computer, right? So as for me also, for someone who wants to see Ethereum become the real world computer, especially in the next few years to come, right? Africa is actually part of that journey, right? In making it truly decentralized. And then what does true decentralization means, right? That's one question we also really need to answer, right? So we have to also understand from a geographical perspective, right? True decentralization means we need to have everybody in the 7 continents. So probably one day we could have in the Atlanticas, right? A node running there. But yeah, the idea about it should be we have nodes running from these geographical regions, right? At least good number of them, if possible. If they wouldn't be balanced, we should have good number of nodes running from these regions. And by so doing, right, this is how we actually make Ethereum truly decentralized, right? Also resilient, right? So for me, this is like one of the things that also pushes me to like run NodeBridge. Also, it keeps me on my feet because, yeah, as someone who is also a believer of the network and participant of the network, and ready to really see that we secure this network. So we also have to do this from our own point of view, which is in Africa, despite the challenges, right? But yeah, it's just what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's a good segue because I think there's curiosity about what those challenges are. So I feel like there's probably a number of dimensions under which there are challenges of running nodes and educating about it. But like I'm curious from your experience what that has been like, what's actually been the challenge, but also um maybe even uh the opposite of a challenge, like something that's gone really well or easily compared to what you might whatever our experience might be, or but yeah, maybe start with challenges and what you would describe from your
Yeah,
experience with that.
yeah. So just unlike like other part of the world, there are similar challenges, but obviously there's still some unique challenges in this part of the world, which is in Africa and possibly also in Latin America. But talking mainly from my own point of view from Africa, you have challenges of like, for instance, lack of education, right? This is one big challenge right now. And for us also in NodeBridge, this is like one where we have been trying to tackle, right? There are different solution strategies we've been applying to solve that. Also we have infrastructure, like internet infrastructure challenge. In most part of Africa, you have the internet infrastructure not really, really good there. There are also other parts where you don't even have like internet connectivity, right? So that's also like a big challenge. Also, for us in as a community, we get to do research, we get to try out practical things. Like I could say practically from my own, like practically we have been playing, we've been running nodes in Africa with Starlink. And so far that looks super, like to an extent, it looks good. Currently now we also kind of run like a Gnosis chain mainnet using Starlink, and pretty well. Like that also has been generating rewards and also has
So,
been
so
participating
Starlink
to
works pretty
blocks.
well. I'm curious, like what that
Uh,
experience is like, because I've always wondered how does it work
yeah,
for
yeah,
running a node on it and keeping up?
yeah. So for Starlink, I think before now there were several issues with the configuration of Starlink, like you couldn't do port forwarding and X, Y, and Z and other like settings of the default settings of Starlink. But over the time, with the little research we've been doing, we were able to find a way to like, we're able to find a way which is like upgrading. So one solution for us we found was when you upgrade to like the next the priority subscription on Starlink, that gives you now flexibility to play with like the configuration. So you could, by default, with the other subscription, Starlinks only allow you to use IPv6 over like using IPv4. And by default, like most of these clients, most of the nodes you want to run actually runs on like on IPv4, right? So you have that issue. But now with this like new findings we were able to get, where with the higher subscription, you will be able to like have the configuration to choose from IPv4 or IPv6, right? That's like one. Then also getting like a public IP, Starlink and X, Y, and Z. So, but the other thing also, which like Starlink solves, the latency also is now like not really too much. You have like very, very low latency also using Starlink. Apart from Starlink ISPs, you also have other ISPs which we have tested. Like in some part of in Africa, we have fiber optics, right, which also works beautiful well. Also, so these are like also researches we've checked. So another other challenges we have, like other challenge we have is power infrastructure, right? So I could say this in some part of in some part of the African region, you have places where for like 2 years, 1 year, you don't even have power supply, right? And that's a big problem, right? But yeah, this is like one big challenge. But just like we keep finding ways right now in also in running nodes in Africa. Currently now for like in NodeBridge, what we do also, we currently generate our own power supply. So we run node on solar systems. So we have batteries, we have power pack batteries also, which we run these nodes on, which is a way to solve like the power infrastructure issue. Yeah, it's also similarly to like other continents or other part of the world where the 2ETH is actually a lot of money, a lot of funds to like stake, right? Also, it's one challenge also you have in Africa. But yeah, we're also happy to see projects or systems like the DVT, the Lido CSM, right? Really trying to also break that barrier. Apart from that, also like these are a few other like okay, yeah. Amongst like other like few other challenges, like these are really like core challenges also that I could say at the moment are like one challenges we face in Africa. But just like I said, we've also always find a way to solve these challenges from our own point of view.
I want to go back to the education challenge that you spoke about. What kind of education um, is lacking from your perspective? Are you talking about like basic math, computer knowledges, or like the ability to even read English, or like trying to find good resources, or like working with computers, and maybe you could also talk about your own background and your own education in how it helped you be part of this community.
Yeah. So one first thing to establish is, most persons have like the basic education. Like they know how to read and write. They know how to search the internet. And next one is like that part of education is it's sorted out. So, but when I talk about education now is the node itself, like the Ethereum ecosystem, running an Ethereum node, right? So one first thing is even getting people to be curious, like getting the curious people, right? For someone to be able to be curious, it means the first thing they need to even know, they need to be in that community, right? They need to hear about these things. So like from my own experience, so I think I'm one person I could say I think some guys, some persons from the EF came to Africa some times back. And I've been in the Ethereum space, like I'm actually like a blockchain developer for a while. And I've not really been running nodes. Like I've heard about running nodes and the likes. So, but some persons came to Africa, and one of these person actually brought um, um, uh, a node running on a Raspberry Pi. And literally when they came, literally seeing that node, like seeing that system, and I got curious. I was like, okay, yeah. So also I have like a computer engineering background, so I got curious and I was like, this is something I love to play with. And after the left, I now start making my own research, trying to understand how does this node works, like what it means, what's important, seeing the requirements to run the node, trying to get the machine, trying to get some test nets to run on the listed test net. So all of those things. And yeah, thanks to I think I'll give a thumbs up to the EthStaker documents. Like that was like the go-to resources also at that point for me. Like you kind of find a lot of solutions there and some pointers. So yeah, I was also using that to like educate myself about that. But the first thing was out of curiosity, right? I was curious enough to like go check that thing. But then I was doing that, and it got me thinking that okay, other persons also are not even on. Other persons don't even know about this community. They don't even know why they should run these nodes, right? What's the importance? What's the benefit for them, right? Apart from just even the benefit for them, what's the benefit for the network, right? And the different opportunities, right, or the different systems that are out there to solve some challenges that an individual might face when trying to run these nodes. So these are like other educations that is lacking, right? So just to give a practical examples, recently we just finished a DBT cluster credential for like 12 node operators. So these persons are like individuals. Some of them don't have like prior knowledge to running nodes or even what a node means, right? So we with like a partnership with the OBOL DVT, like we have a curriculum, right? A well-detailed curriculum is like I think it's a 4 weeks cohort, right? So they go through these things, right, in theoretical and also practical, right? So they were also given access to like a cloud server, right, to test these things out. So they were able to do that. So this right now for them right now, they are able to get this practical knowledge. They are able to be educated, right, on what it means to run the node, how to run the node, the requirements, right, and all of those, right. Then apart from that, also you now talk about the opportunities in the space, right? The different systems that are solving these systems. Like a lot of persons don't even know you could use Lido CSM to stake you could using the Lido CSM, you just need like 1.5 ETH. Some persons also don't know about, you could also stake on Gnosis chain with one GNO. Some persons don't know about what they call it, Rocket Pool, right? And Ethereum. Like these are all information a lot of persons don't know about, right? So many, and these are all information that solves some issues, right? That some persons could think running a node is rocket science, right? Also, like different systems, also you can like buying your own node or customizing your own node. These are also different educations, right? That we are also doing. At the same time, also benefits for individuals that you can also run your node. You can use your own personal RPC. Like I do that also, like send your transaction through your own node, right? You could also like for privacy and the like. So there are like a lot of information that a lot of persons in this part of the world are actually lacking, right? And for us, this is where we kind of tackle it on, from educational perspective.
I guess like the discovery part of Ethereum or like running your own node is a big part of like what's hard with the lacking in education part. I feel like in the West we're also affected by this inability for us to make ourselves be more discoverable. But maybe in your case it might be harder. We had the chance to speak at DEF CON, the two of us, with a few different subjects, and I wanted to come back on this other challenge that you spoke about, which is more about the trust issues and maybe related to the political or cultural climate that you guys are facing, which is very a bigger challenge in your region. Can you speak about that?
Okay, so if I could get like trust issues in respect to Ethereum or in respect to
in respect to like running your own node or like transacting with people around you,
okay.
or like
Okay.
being able to use Ethereum to solve some of these trust issues.
Yeah. So so I think so that now boils like down to why do you even want to run a node as an African, right? One of the first thing is in the few years to come, right? If not even right now, more you get to find a lot of products being built in Africa, from Africa. One of the reasons why, because you have so many challenges, right? Trust, you have like some kind of trust issues also, right? And you get to find how the Ethereum network, right, get to solve that, right? So if the Ethereum network is going to be solving that, and that means there will be a product or there will be a project using the network. So if the network, if there will be a project using the network, it means this project now we need to fetch data, we need to query this data from the blockchain, and thus the reason why you need to run this node locally. Because if you're now trying to query data and you don't have local nodes running within the region, right? You now have a lot of high latency, and that might not be good for that kind of project, right? Also, you talk about political challenges or issues here. Also, it's also how the Ethereum network solve some of these political issues. For instance, right, we could build the voting system of a country in Africa on the Ethereum network, right? And if the voting system, right, will be built on the Ethereum network, that now means you will need to query this data, and you need like this data to come like quickly, right? Low latency and the likes, right? And so that means we need to like run our own nodes, right? And apart from that, also, if you're querying this data through a third party, right, there might be third party issues, right? So you want to run your own local nodes so as to be able to so as to also know that, okay, there's actually no third party. You're actually interacting with the blockchain solely from your own point. So these are like issues also, and ways that Ethereum actually affects our society, because you have so many challenges, from the political perspective, from individual trusting each other when making transaction. One of the also one thing also that is being seen is also access to dollar, right? Also, you get to using blockchain, using the Ethereum network, you get access to dollar because in this part of the world, right, you don't have access to dollar easily, right? But with the Ethereum network right now, with the stable token, you now have access to dollar, right? So this is also something impactful through this technology itself.
I think this kind of gets at like what are the benefits that Ethereum brings to Africans that you're experiencing, and like I think my mind also goes to like what apps or dApps, like are people finding useful? And I mean, so I don't know, it's not necessarily about like running your own node, but it could be if you're interacting like with your own RPC directly with um a particular tool or app or something. Um I guess, yeah, just from your experience, like what is it that are some of the big benefits? Like I know also like just from I know like each jurisdiction in the world has a different reality around like like financial infrastructure and regulations. And so like doing those types of things in, one country to the next is probably very unique and different. So I'm just, I guess, curious, like what is Ethereum bringing to the experience that maybe you can't get from a traditional infrastructure or financial perspective? Is there anything kind of just unique to your experience from that?
Yeah. So they're just so many. They're just so many. But just to mention few, and ones that are actually like really visible, also you could see and open right now is like cross-border payments, right? Remittances. Right now, if you want to send funds, like let's say you want to send funds from one country to another, right? In the same African continent, that's a little hustle, like so many, like that's really quite a hustle to do that. So, but with the blockchain, like you have so many cross-border payments right now, you utilizing the blockchain, the Ethereum ecosystem, right? The Ethereum technology itself. I think we one that is also very interesting in Nigeria right now is called Onboard, right? Yeah, that's also one interesting project. So you have so many of them also that also uses like the Ethereum network, either L2s, whether L1, the mainnet, right, to actually solve that. But cross-border payment is one strong remittancy, is one strong use case you get to find. Amongst every other tokenizations, right? Tokenizing of land assets. You also have projects right now who are actually tokenizing land properties, right, on the blockchain, right? These are now real world cases, and it's so you could just keep like there are tons of them, so as we don't really waste so many time. You obviously also decentralized finance, right? DeFi is also one. People get now to save in USD, right? You could save in USD because of the stability of the dollar itself, right? So against our own local currency, right? You could see several projects also building from that perspective. So these are like a few projects like use cases, right? I could say that are actually like solving real time.
You
Yeah, the
talked.
real world. I
Sorry.
guess the one about land registry is really interesting because it just feels like such a real
Yeah.
world thing, and like anyone who's done anything with like exchanging or buying or selling land or property, it's like it feels like there could be a lot of benefit everywhere, in the world. So I'm always curious to hear like what use cases are working. It'd be cool to be pointed to where that's happening, and um yeah, that's always really intriguing.
You talked about the onboard project that was quite popular in Nigeria. Can you expand on what that project is and how it's using Ethereum?
Yeah, awesome. So I think there's a project called Onboard. So one interesting thing about the project first is you could kind of use you can actually kind of send someone USDT, right? Like you have like what do you call it again? I'm trying to find the word. A kind of P2P, sorry, yeah, that's the word, P2P, like exchange. So probably you have USDT and I can actually off-ramp and on-ramp, right, with that project. That's one, right? And also sending funds. So for instance, just like I said, access to dollar is like a big deal, right? So using the onboard wallet, right, or the onboard project, you can also have like access to dollar, which is like stable token, right? So you could buy stable token from with your own local currency on the platform, and then you could use your stable token for what you want. Then the other part also is access to also a credit card, like a virtual credit card, right? Just it's also like not easy to like get like a virtual credit card, which like a domicile which has like dollar capability, right? Where you could spend USD, right, with a card. So it's not easy also in Africa, because before you get to the bank, pass through all of the documentation, setting up those domicile accounts is quite like a hustle. But with kind of project like that, it makes it now easier for someone to like set up like a virtual USD card, right? Obviously all of this is actually built on Ethereum, right? You have several, and you have like access to like several L2s, whether Base, Arbitrum, Optimism. So you select which of the network you want to use for that. So this is like, and it kind of have also other features. But yeah, in a summary, like this is like most of the things also that project gets to do, right?
We also talked at DEF CON about your ability to build these nodes in terms of hardware and like find the actual hardware components. What are your nodes looking like in terms of like hardware, and how do you manage to source all the components that you need to build them?
Yeah, awesome. So I think when I all started like running this node, I always just find a way. I kind of trying to find a way to solve the challenge, right? And one first challenge I first saw was the hardware. Another challenge I saw was the hardware, like the components, like trying to get the machine itself. And the first thing I saw also was a dark node, and seeing the price of a dark node from my own perspective, I felt it was expensive and I couldn't afford it. And I started finding this for solutions. And one solution I found was now to use mini PCs, mini PCs. So I could get refurbished used mini PCs, like they are in good conditions, and then get them, obviously. So I came from a computer engineering background and I love playing with hardwares. So I could get these hardwares from the market. Actually, I checked all the parts, like the different parts, the CPU, the fans, right? Make sure they're in good conditions, right? Also now, so because this hardware does not come with the requirements, the node requirements. Like for instance, it's most times when I get these hardwares, they come with like maybe 512 or 128 SSD drive, and not even NVMe sometimes, not like the NVMe, the SSD that will actually work for running a node because of the speed, right? And also sometimes they come with like 8 gig RAM. So I now need to like pull up these different parts and then buy the required parts I need, like a 2 terabyte SSD NVMe, the required SSD that is that fits the speed, right? Because obviously you need you need good speed for your SSD. So I check out for those particular kind of storage. And then also for the RAM, I get the RAM separately. And then I couple all of these things together. Also, just like I said, check the different parts, make sure all these different parts actually are in good conditions. And I couple them together. And this is like how I set up my nodes. I have a couple of number of them here. Is it okay to like show you?
Sure, you can show me.
Okay, so so I have this. This is one. This is just a mini Dell PC. I could also pull it off. Maybe you want to see like the inside. So this is just it. This is the inside. Like the different parts. I could like pull off these different parts separately, trying to make sure everything works. The whole Wi-Fi cards, the fans, the CPU, changing the thermal paste for the CPU, making sure it's well in good order. Also playing with like an Orange Pi. This is like an Orange Pi. This is like a 16 gig RAM, 2 terabytes. So I have like the 2 terabyte slots here, SSD. So yeah, this is like how I kind of play with all of these machines from my own perspective. And in terms of the cost effect, the cost part, like it's quite cheap, right? In trying to pull off these things together. And it's actually breaks the barrier. That's really for me. That's another thing also I somewhat love about it, because it breaks the barrier for a beginner, right, to actually just get into, right? Because it's actually cheap compared to like maybe get like an outright stuff out there, right? And one also thing is that you can install different kind of node management system, right? You could also decide to install DApp node on it. You can install different node management system on it, right? If you decide to. So it's something also I get to do. And at the same time also I kind of play with like the Linux part of things, right? Installing Ubuntu, right? Setting that up, putting all the packages. So yeah, it's just the way I put up my setup. Yeah.
Cool. On the hardware stuff, how do you feel about like all the latest discussion about like node hardware requirements or even bandwidth? Those are big topics right now. Like how have you or your community felt about those things that have been discussed? And yeah, it's actually timely for us right now because we're working on pulling together all the results from a survey we did like a few weeks ago and sharing that. So I think it's just really interesting to hear people's perspectives on how that impacts you and people that you're working with. Are you familiar with all that I'm talking about though? Like the
this is like, I think that's also one of my takeaways from DEF CON. Listening to, I think Justin, right? Listening to him talking about also the Beam chain, some of the updates that will be coming up, right? I think for me personally, like I'm so excited about it. And also not even because of that, like also seeing the roadmap, right? The Ethereum roadmap, like you just know, like, and that's part of things I say when I do my like trainings or educational program. Like for me, I feel for NodeBridge, we're laying down the foundation. Like we're putting all of those things right now because we know what the future holds. Like already things are already I think I was in a call recently, the Gnosis chain call, community call, and they had Aragon already implementing some trying to bring down the storage size, right? So I think Aragon right now is saying you could run like with 1.1 terabytes, you could run like a mainnet or sorts of those. So it's actually making sense, and we are so excited about it because this actually breaks down every barrier, right? Of everybody. Like, so it means in the nearest future we will have 50%, 70% of users of the Ethereum actually running these nodes, right? Just from their own home, right? And it makes it for me, I'm so excited about it because this is something we preach, and imagining all of these barriers are being broken down, talking about the 2 ETH over like the proposed probably 1 ETH, right? For staking, right? You now also have system like DVT. So imagining like, oh, in the future, right, when it's now like 1 ETH, and then you can still use DVT system to like DVT technology to also like bring guys together. So it's just so much. It's really, really exciting. But yeah, we are really hoping to see how these things come in practical terms. Right. And the other part of things I would love to like to see also is to see how the community gets to kind of incentivize underrepresented geographical locations to run these things, right? Because if really we want to bring more nodes, all right, as much as from this technical part, it's solving all of these upgrades are actually solving these barriers, right? But at the same time, from a community perspective, from a geographical point of view, also coming together to actually support will actually like make a lot of sense. But just to say, like, I'm so excited about all of these updates coming up.
Cool. So one question I guess here is like, just thinking about, you said like the US dollar access is really important, and this yeah, like thinking about kind of how do you this bridging between like the on-chain world and the traditional world with using like centralized exchanges and wallets, and like just how all that is connected. Like, what are the ones that people are using for centralized exchanges in African countries? And yeah, I feel like this opens up a whole bunch of other questions that I have too, but maybe start with that and like what that access is like, and if there's any. Yeah, just curious to hear that.
Okay, so for centralized exchange, I would say I'm not really too familiar a lot with that. Like, but like for me personally, like I kind of like use more of decentralized exchanges over like decentralized. But for point where now I kind of want to off ramp, right? I use like systems like Onboard. Also before now, I kind of use like Binance, right? The Binance. So but right now I kind of use more of Onboard, right? To like do some of the things I can't do on a decentralized exchange, right? That's like from my own point, like my own perspective. But I've seen persons actually, like I've heard a lot of persons talk about like different exchanges like Bybit, like KuCoin. So I think Coinbase is actually, I think Coinbase, you need like a lot of it's not active here in like in this part of the world.
Yeah.
I guess because probably of jurisdiction or policies kind of. So but yeah, there are a couple of also centralized exchanges other like a lot of people use yeah at the moment.
Well, and that kind of leads into another question. Like, there's so many different countries in Africa, and so I guess like, what is your take on which countries are like, how do you think about the different countries and regions, and like what needs they have, or what areas of focus might be good for the Ethereum community to think about like them differently in terms of supporting them? And I feel like there's a bunch of dimensions in terms of that too, right? Like maybe there's more cities in some countries, or different types of infrastructure or developer communities. And so I'm just curious, like how you're thinking about the different regions and countries within that you've interacted with, and just, yeah, like where you live too.
Yeah, I think one first thing I would say is for the Ethereum community to like kind of want to collaborate or support or be part of the African community. The first thing is you want to first interact with them, like some of the things like what we're doing right now, like hearing from them, and if possible, even coming down to Africa, like really seeing what is really happening, right? Have like a first-hand experience to really see what's actually happening in Africa, explore the different communities you have in practical terms, and obviously also collaborating with several communities, right? And then for like the different landscaping, like obviously, yeah, you have different communities or different, you have different countries, right, in Africa, and as much as our challenges are similar, but it varies based because also all of these countries have like their culture, right, and the way we might be thinking about solving the problem also actually might apply to that other part of, maybe you're solving it in Kenya separate in a different way, also will apply in Africa, in Nigeria, right? But might just have like a little different way it's being implemented, but you will notice that it's similar, right? So yeah, from my own point of view, first, for if the communities, like in the Ethereum communities, are coming to like support, and the different projects or African the different African countries, right, with their projects, the Ethereum community should come or communicate with or collaborate with several communities that are in these regions, right? Try to understand the problem, try to understand what they think about like the solution or the proposed solution, they think about it, right? And have like a dialogue, right? This is I think this is the best way you could think of a solution, right? Have discussions, open up for discussions from all of these regions, right? And that's, I think from there we could start thinking of solutions, because obviously we could, coming from like a design thinking perspective, right? You could actually think, oh, this might be the solution, and when actually looked into critically from different angles, you might find one effective solution that actually works. So having that dialogue, having that discussion, having that collaboration will actually be like one first point of the solution.
Cool. What about developer communities? I'm curious, like if there's any particular cities or parts where the developer communities are really strong. And my brain goes to this actually now too, because I just did a survey the other day following DevCon. And they were asking, hey, any ideas for the next DevCon? So I mean, do you feel like there could be like a city in Africa that would be like a really good candidate where there's strong developer communities and like just interest? I mean, yeah, you probably have a good perspective on that.
Yeah. So I think from my own perspective, first will be I think for DevCon, like there are actually some criteria the DevCon team checks before like they select a region. So so I think one of the first criteria will now be access to visas, right? How easy it is to get visas, right, to that country. So yeah, in some African countries, right, it's easy to get those visas. But then the other part now, which will be another box to check, will be the facility, right? Which African countries have the facility to actually take that number of persons, right? Take that inflow of persons into that city at that period, right? With good flow. Like I think in Thailand, in DevCon, like I think that event center was good, right? It was able to like accommodate that number of persons during that event. So this is few like, then with other like we also actually have like a lot of communities. Obviously, like in Nigeria, you have so many communities. In Kenya, you have communities. In Ghana, and there are also a lot of new communities also coming up super fast. Like so many communities coming up super fast in the African region. So as much as these communities are there, and I can tell you they are also active. All of these communities are like kind of active, really doing something from their own point of view. So, but obviously there are actually parameters that has to be checked for like, oh, where would be the next DevCon and stuff. So if and one thing I can say from my own perspective is you could find a country that checks like 3, 4 of these parameters, but probably is not able to check like 2 of it, right? And yeah. The good part about this is all of these boxes have to be checked, because you need to have like a good DevCon experience, right? So this is now where a lot of analysis have to come in. And for me, that actually I've not really gone to a lot of African countries, right? I've already gone to few, so I might not be in the very best position to say, okay, that Probably because if I say this country, there might be boxes also that might not be checked in this country, right? And might be checked in other. So it's all of this. So a real sit down has to be done. Like
Totally.
a need for analysis has to be done to really check. Okay, what does this country has? Do they check all of these boxes? If they do, then that might be the perfect country to like do DEFCON, hopefully in Africa. But I can say for the community, we have good community in the African continent. Builders, you have researchers, you have curious minds, right? Like that's one thing for me that I'm so like. You have so much curious persons who are like ready to like dive into trying to check out things for themselves and also like build stuff, right? And solve real problems, right? Um, yeah, but yeah, I would be happy to like see DevCon come to like Africa. But for me first, I think the first thing from my own perspective, I would say I would love to see probably a small version of DevCon, probably Dev Connect, right? First come, so let's have like Dev Connect first in Africa, right? And then from there, we could now think of, okay, DevCon. It's like, this is just my own kind of thoughts around this.
Yeah, I like that thinking. Are there any other questions from the chat? If someone's monitoring.
I don't think we didn't have any from YouTube.
Okay. Just seeing if there's anything else that I missed, or if there's anything, David, that you would want to point people to. I know we were talking before the call that you have the Twitter account, and there's also a Telegram group that I saw, just as far as connecting. And yeah, it looks like a pretty good number of people in the Telegram group actually talking about everything you have going on. Is there anything else you would point us to, or like any kind of anything we missed that you would want to make sure to mention with any of the time we have left?
Okay, yeah. So I think for me, it's in the spirit of really true decentralization, right? We actually have to like, from a community spirit, actually collaborate with each other, right? And what I mean by that is how the Ethereum community gets to join different underrepresented geographical regions, right, to actually participate in this network, right? So I'm actually like saying we have to join hands already. There are different systems also solving that already, but I'm just making like the whole call right now also to like encourage and advocate for more collaboration in the Ethereum ecosystem, right, in supporting like underrepresented geographical locations, right, to also participate in this network. So, and this supports this collaboration can come from different perspectives, right? It can come from also collaborating with the existing communities in these regions. It can come from education. It can come from even what we're doing right now. This is part of it, right? So yeah, it's all of what we need also as a community to really see that this world computer is actually truly decentralized and it's reached its real potential, right? It gets to its true potentials. So yeah, it's something also I'm so passionate about to see. Yeah, but
Cool.
This actually has been a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad to give you the stage here and like shine a light on everything that you're doing with the community. It's definitely important and aligns really well with just all the principles that we have around independent operation and bringing value, like real world value, to users of the network. So I love it.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I think yeah, I think that might be it then. And I'm just looking, we have a couple minutes. Yeah, I want to make sure that we mention a few housekeeping things, but first there is a POAP. So Remy, if we have that slide,
Yep, it's
we
on.
can show the directions. Cool. I don't think there's a whole lot different, but there is some difference here in terms of how to get this. This time it's sending 0.009 ETH to poap.ethstaker.eth. So just follow these instructions. You can use any of the networks within Ethereum there, Arbitrum, Base, OP, Mainnet. Yeah, and then you'll get that cool POAP. So we'll all be doing that after the call.
That's 0.0009.
Yeah. In the past, I think it's been 0.00, but this is 0.0009. So count those zeros. And then let's see if there's anything else that people have interests in for other calls, community calls. Get in touch, come into the Discord, chat about it. Interested to hear those ideas. And yeah, if that's it, I think that wraps up this one. So thanks everyone for joining, and David for taking the time to share everything you're doing with us.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Great. Thanks.
Thanks.